Good, okay. So call to order the Rice Creek Watershed District Board regular meeting. It is Wednesday, August 28th. We are in the Shoreview City Hall Council chambers. Let the record reflect that all managers are present. Our administrator is, at my suggestion a long time ago, to start taking some vacations, is in fact absent today, and with us is Patrick Hughes sitting in his chair. Patrick, any changes to the agenda?
No proposed changes.
Can I have a motion to set the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Board minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I would move the approval of the board minutes from the August 12, 2024 workshop and the August 14, 2024 regular meeting.
I will second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. That takes us, Patrick, to permit applications.
Yes, President Bradley, Board of Managers, we have one application requiring board action. This includes a variance request. This is a single-family home build in the city of Forest Lake along the north shore of Clear Lake. The variance request is for the one-time floodplain fill exemption. The rule allots for up to 100 cubic yards of floodplain fill without needing mitigation. The proposal will exceed the 100 cubic yard threshold. The materials are in the packet. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Chris, so I read your memo determining that adding at 32 cubic feet would be absolutely de minimis, and you made a reference to practical difficulties provided, similar to other sites which have been granted variances from this rule. I frankly don't ever remember a variance from this rule in my tenure. Maybe you were thinking about variances, your broader practice, or have we in fact varied this rule?
Mr. President, we have done a variance for this rule before. In fact, I believe it was, if I recall right, in Shoreview, and maybe Patrick might remember that particular one. But we did have a floodplain fill. I'm trying to remember now. I would have to think on that a little bit, to be honest, but I'm.
Okay, that's fine. So,
I'm sorry if I could,
Yeah,
sorry,
Patrick.
President Bradley. Yes, we have approved variances of this same rule request a couple of times, and even in this same location, the next door neighbor came in for an after-the-fact variance for this specific rule.
So I'm absolutely in favor of this variance. I would, as you know, whenever we give variances, my first thought is there something we can do to affix our rule to minimize the need to go through this process? And for consideration is something to say that where the impact on the other properties and others is de minimis, we don't need to give a variance. So to consider, we got our rules up for consideration. That was something I would like to at least think about. Any other questions or discussion? Can I have a motion, please?
Mr. President, I would move to approve a variance request for variance application 25-051 as outlined in accordance with Rice Creek Watershed District's Engineer Variance Technical Memorandum dated August 20th, 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes.
And then there's another one here too.
It's the permit.
Yeah, the permit itself. I move to Cap Rock, permit number 25-051 as outlined in Rice Creek District Engineer's findings and recommendations dated August 20th, 2024.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Congratulations, you got your variance and permit. That's pretty fast. There you go. That takes us then to,
Easy, huh?
well, and it's seriously, I mean, I'm sorry we put you through this. Maybe you've benefited some future person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Hopefully.
what you guys do. You really do.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. If you-
I think that takes us to, what, open mic. We've got people in the audience. So Peter Olson Skog, I believe you've got a presentation you'd like to make to us. Yes, please, go ahead.
I apologize. I didn't hear where he was from.
He's going to tell you.
Oh, we didn't hear that yet. Maybe
No.
that's why I didn't
I
hear it.
just happen to know his name because he's on the sheet.
Okay.
And of course, if you would please start by introducing yourself and where you live.
Absolutely. President Bradley?
There's a microphone there, so the audience on the
So
phone
everyone can hear me
you
everywhere.
exactly.
Yes, wonderful. President Bradley, members of the board, my name is Peter Olsenskog. I live at 3208 Shorewood Drive in Arden Hills, Minnesota, 55112. Having purchased the home of my aunt, Al and Sharon Mason, who lived there for a long time before I did. We live along Rice Creek Ditch number 4. Which has been recently improved to increase access for the Rice Creek Watershed District to whatever they need to do in order to maintain the ditch. The ditch runs, just to give you a sense of it, the ditch runs between Little Lake Johanna and Big Lake Johanna. My street dead ends. It's a cul-de-sac. I live on one side of the cul-de-sac, which is the property that is on Little Lake Johanna. And there's a number of properties on the other side of the ditch, but mine runs the entire length from Little Lake Johanna all the way. In the picture, is there any other thing you'd like me to say before I continue? Okay. In the picture, you'll note our backyard. This is our backyard, and along this side, this is the old view of our backyard. This is Little Lake Johanna, and then this is Rice Creek Ditch along here. Forgive me, cheaters have become a necessity. Here's another view of the side of the, right back here is where the Rice Creek Ditch number 4 runs. Here's another one from the side of the yard, and here's one from the deck looking out. Right? This is the new view of the Rice Creek Ditch number 4 along the side. Here's another view. This is along our house. And then I'll just let this play. So this just gives you kind of a sense moving along the side of the house there. I'm actually not here about the view. I understand that you have work that you need to do to maintain the ditches. I could argue that we cleared a little bit more than we might have needed for some equipment to make its way in there and to do work on the ditch, but that's not why I'm here today. I'm actually here not out of frustration for the project, but out of concern for my home. And I'll continue to show you why. I guess I can show you this quickly. This is from the front of the, so this maybe locates you a little bit more. So there's the street coming into the cul-de-sac. I'm standing in the cul-de-sac. This is along the ditch here, looking back towards my house. That's the old view. This is that same view again. Don't know why I panned up. Maybe to look at that lovely pole. I don't know, but then here you can see the side of the home and what it looks like now. Now, what you're starting to see in this video, and you can see the riprap that has been applied to the other side on one side for a portion of the ditch. And that's my biggest concern. If there's a silver lining in losing all the privacy that we had in our backyard, it's that it's revealed some significant erosion issues, and I'll walk you through those. Here's another view, sorry. But it does allow you to see what I'm getting at. So right here is the stretch, and I'll show you with some other pictures, but right here is the stretch that's right in front of the riprap that was installed by the county, or by the Rice Creek Watershed District, I believe in 2018. And then you can see the shoreline here. I took most of the pictures from my side, from my side looking to the other side, but you can see a lot of that same undercutting going on. And it has rapidly accelerated since the riprap has been put in, and I'll show you some of those details. Here's another view. You can just see in the corner the riprap here. You can see how this is being undercut. I draw your attention to this tree, and it might seem odd that I'm drawing your attention to a tree, but trees of this variety don't just grow in water. They plant in soil, and then over time, the soil can erode in a situation like this and leave the tree such that it is. My point being, there's rapid erosion going on. This is a little bit more pixely of a shot, just because I want you to zoom in and see. There's the riprap. Here's the erosion that's carving out in front of it. And similar things are happening on both sides of the ditch. This is mine, taken from my shot. It's not a great shot, and actually it was taken this morning after another thing to know about the lake is that it goes up and down pretty significantly with the rain. And so that's the other thing that causes some issues here is because you get huge torrents of water that come through here. And it's increased over time as more and more has been funneled into this specific watershed or this kind of narrow part of the watershed district. There's another view across. Here's another view of a young tree that at one point had plenty of land on both sides of it. Now it's in the water. Here's another young tree, oddly planted for Minnesota because it didn't grow that way. There used to be a lot of land in front of it. This is on my side. This was a willow that was removed. And then some of the erosion, so this is just happening now. This is another view kind of taken of that erosion that's happening along the bank. And this is what I'll leave you with, because this is a picture right at the edge of the new riprap that was put in for a portion on one side. Now, you are all much more experts in this. You've seen all of this, I'm sure, from lots of properties. But from everybody that I've talked to that has some expertise in this says this was a problem. The fact that the riprap was installed on one side of a portion of this channel needs to be corrected. There's some historians along the lake right behind these lovely arborvitaes here. That would be Fred and Ann Fox. Next to them is Bruce and Julie. Down from them is, anyways, there's about four different properties. Fred is the historian for the block. He would tell you that when his kids were here, and I don't have a great shot of this, that when his kids were young, there used to be a bridge that the neighbors had installed where they could walk from one side to the other. One of those small ones, you kind of see picturesque. It's not very wide. It's maybe 10 feet across, if that. Since that time, the channel has doubled in width and halved in depth. And it's significantly accelerated since that happened. So I'm imploring the Rice Creek Watershed District to do something about it. I think the simplest fix would be to take the riprap that is installed. There's riprap up on the other side of Little Lake Johanna. There's riprap on the other side of this bridge. There's riprap right here, and that I've lived in the home for 8 years, seems to have protected that area, and like I said, my aunt lived there before, so I've seen it for 30 years. That does seem to protect it when it's installed fully, not on one portion on one side. That makes it worse. So whatever, and I can tell you that the reason that I'm coming to you, haven't come to you earlier, and again, that's the silver lining maybe, is that by removing all of these trees, I now understand the depth of the problem. And I'm seeing all this undercutting that has been happening since this riprap went in, and before, just at a much slower rate until this happened.
Are there any questions?
Patrick, could you pull up the map of where we're at?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Olson-Skov, have you talked to any of the representatives from Rice Creek, the drainage team, or the engineer on site at all about your concerns?
They share them.
Yes.
Yes, I have, and they share them.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to confirm because we have been talking about a couple different areas along Ramsey County Ditch 4 where we are planning to do some armoring along there following the completion of the tree clearing. Again, we wanted to get that work completed first before we do some more of the stabilization. This was something that we did include within our repair report on Ramsey County Ditch 4 was in a few different locations to add some more armoring along the ditch in areas that we saw were showing some erosion. So I'm not sure if that was specific to Mr. Olson-Scova's property, but certainly I'll make sure that our project manager and the drainage team staff take a look at this area if they haven't already and consider, what we need to do to address the concerns.
Chris, where are we on that project totally? I mean, we're going to do are we doing excavation on this one or not?
No, there's really no need for any excavation in the ditch. There's very little sediment in the bottom of it. It's more, again, of getting tree clearing done so we could reestablish vegetation and be able to have the corridor to be able to complete maintenance along the drainage system. Again, similar to what we've had on the recent ACD 5362 project. So. Yeah, but again, like I said, we're planning following the tree clearing and getting vegetation started on the system to come back and get some stabilization done on a couple selected portions.
Why don't I suggest that we bring this issue back to our next workshop meeting with a report and we can look at it at that time. We do our real work at workshops, I mean, where we can sit down and talk to people and look at things and figure it out. And, this absolutely merits our considerations, and that's best I can say at this time.
May I make,
Certainly.
so to more fully answer your question,
Yep.
Abel is lovely. He's a wonderful member of your team. He's been very communicative the entire time. I knew it was coming. There was parts of it I didn't like, but he was able to, you didn't hear me come in to complain about just the clearing itself. It's the erosion that I'm concerned about. So Connor is a new member of the team. He's also great, young, but he's figuring it out, and he was very informative. The only reason that not the only reason, I'm very concerned about the erosion, but the reason that I came specifically today to this group is that it was my understanding that the project did not initially include authorization from the board to authorize the funding of riprap, basically on both sides of the channel. Now, if that's inaccurate, then great, I'll go home and I can't wait for the riprap. But but that's why I'm here, is because it's not just a matter of having it done someday. A couple days rain event with the way that 2 days ago rain event with the way that it happened, I am very concerned about, with everything removed, how quickly the erosion will even accelerate further. And the only quick fix that I see and permanent fix that I see is along the lines that has already been implemented on a portion. I'm also very concerned about the winter and the snow and what will happen with the melt.
So you've been heard, and we will take this up at our next.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
Mr.
you're
Mayor.
welcome. And that's an open meeting. You're welcome to come to it.
Oh, okay, great.
It will
I'll go
be.
find out when that is.
It will be the
September the 9th. It's a Monday.
Monday, which date?
September 9th.
September 9th, Monday, 9 a.m. in our offices in White. You can find us on the website.
So, Mr. President,
Right off of Lexington Avenue, right
Thank
in
you.
the
Thank you.
village.
since you said that the ditch is widened quite a bit there, so, and that it's shallow, did I understand you correctly?
So I would need, again, to go to Mr. Fred Fox, who's our historian.
No,
He's
I'm
lived
just-
there longer than I have. But yes, it is wider
Okay.
and it is shallower
Okay.
relative to his memory.
And
So
in this portion,
I
of the-
can remember being I've seen the widening. I can't attest to the depth.
sure. And so, and this portion of the ditch is what empties directly into the lake then, right?
That is correct.
Correct. So this is, right.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is the proper meeting for you to come and explain this.
Yeah,
You're not out of order
You
at
did the
all.
right thing.
Please come to the
Please come to our workshop
workshop you wish.
where we will sit down with our engineer and staff and we'll look at this.
So I'm interested here at the workshop about the depth issue. Chris, when you get around to it, I want to hear what the width of the ditch is there and what's happened. Thank you very much. We'll see about getting some
Just
rock.
Very quickly,
Yes, sir.
Peter, can you just provide a copy of some of the photos with staff so that when we do go into workshop, we can review those as we dialogue
just forward them
more robustly?
electronically.
Yeah,
To do so.
for them to stop. That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I see that we have Michael Person. Perrin. So it looks like an S here. I'm sorry.
It's my writing. Thank you for letting me get up here and speak. So I'm a board member on the Peltier Lake Association. We stood up the association about 3 years ago, established 501c, and I just want to talk a little bit about our concerns and just introduce myself really more than anything else, because I'm getting to know that Rice Creek has got a lot to do with any help that our lake can get. So myself, Mike Perrin, I live on Peltier Lake. I'm at 7617 Peltier Lake Drive, north part of the lake. We established this organization. We exist just to improve the lake quality. That includes, we got a lot of curly leaf pondweed. We got some algae blooms in there, and we're looking for solutions to that. So 3 years ago, we applied for a permit, and with the help of Matt Cushion and the DNR, we were able to get some permits and actually started treating the lake for the curly leaf pondweed. We have seen some definite improvements, definitely not there yet, but we are definitely seeing improvements in that area. The algae blooms, so I've been there 11 years. I was prior military, came back and moved around a little bit, but finally ended up on the lake there, so love it. But near the end of the year, the algae blooms just take over, and it's dangerous actually for the fish in the lake, for the wildlife habitat and all that. So, and for anybody that likes to use the lake recreationally. So, I do want to thank the board for some of the projects it's taken on recently. Actually, this year there's a couple of projects on one of the creeks to filter out, created a environment to filter out some of the phosphorus coming into the lake. Just completed a core sample study, and turns out that it just confirms some modeling that was done, and also what we already knew. We've got a lot of phosphorus coming in from the 3 creeks that come into that lake. So and it's been building up. So the external the external phosphorus load is being addressed in some ways, and I know that Rice Creek is going to continue to work on that. The internal loading is really the worst part of it right now, and we're looking for solutions for that. So again, just wanted to thank you we've got a baseline now with that core sample study, and we can start working towards something to address the internal loading also. So again, just want to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about our association and what we're doing, and I just want to thank you for everything that you guys are doing too.
You are absolutely on our map of things that we want to improve. I lived on Bald Eagle. I know exactly what you mean about August.
Oh yeah.
Where you pray you don't have to have your house on the market then. So I understand, and yes, Anything, other comments or questions?
Mr. President, thank you. You said you did a core sample of the lake. Was that, could you share that core sampling with Goshen, or?
You
is
guys
it-
did the core
We did core,
sampling.
okay,
Goshen
we did the
did.
core
Yeah,
sampling.
yeah,
I see.
Goshen did, so.
All right. And are you talking about dissolved phosphorus, or are you distinguishing between dissolved and granular?
I'm still learning everything they do.
Okay, well,
So,
it's
yeah.
one of the things, and then
We're- yeah.
how's the heron rookery?
Heron rookery is doing well.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely, definitely a lot of birds, a lot of different birds in there, of course, but it's doing well.
Good deal.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming. Thank you for introducing yourself. I can only tell you that you are not forgotten. Thank you. So we've got either Mr. Stowe or Ms. Decker. Welcome back.
Thank you. Christopher Stowe, 426 Pine Street, Lionel Lakes. I came here today to talk to you guys about the ditch 102232 that I've repeated, and I was here about a year ago, and I thought they were going to do an engineering review on that. I was at the last meeting when you posted that you were going to lower the ditch on Pine Street, and I was concerned about that as well, but it was actually West Pine Street that you lowered that time. Both those ditches, though, flow into 1022, I believe, south of 125th on the sod farms. The problem that I'm having is that when you guys lowered the ditch in Columbus and you carved up the drainage in Columbus, it took me over a year and a half to get an answer from the city of Lino Lakes, and apparently you didn't officially notify them. But you also cut up the street and the road and went into Lino when you lowered that pipe. That pipe was already lowered 12 inches further than the 1890 survey, and then you went another 13, so you violated your own rules doing that. Then you lowered the pipe on West Pine Street, and what's happening now for the people downstream of there is during drought or no rain, the water saturates into the ground and evaporates. Now when we have storm surges because you lowered the pipe, the water goes right in there and downstream. The first pipe that it hits is at Andal Street, because Andal's a dam, and it floods out my property. It's been flooding it out all summer long. The other thing is, between the two pipes that you've lowered now where they meet at the sod farms, that drainage system can't handle this additional storm surge, and that's why you guys have pumper trucks with at least 8-inch pipes pumping the water from one side to the other because the highway is not big enough. So that backs up, floods the sod farms. I got pictures I can show you. And then that backs all the way up the drainage system to me because you lowered the pipes upstream, but you didn't do anything downstream. I've been waiting for an engineering report on 102232, and now I'm finding out that they want to do development at Robinson Sod Farms and all the other ones. Right now, it's already in the floodplain. They've harvested sod there for over 50 years. Every time they take dirt out of there, they're taking sod. With it goes dirt, and yet their elevations have continued to rise over the years. Now they want to put in decorative ponds and put in houses, and there's a moratorium now to slow the grow in Lino Lakes. But if you guys develop that FEMA floodplain, and I'm already underwater, and I've told you that Andal Street, the pipe there's too high, and you've lowered the stuff upstream of me, what you've done to my property is flood me out. My property used to keep over 120 horses on site. I got 3 man-made ponds. In the 80s, when they did the bike track, they put in parking lot, and the city approved to park 121 cars there, which right now, you can't park anything out there. I haul in sand into my paddocks. My front right there towards the street used to be all trees and a horseshoe driveway in there. The water has nowhere to go. You guys were out yesterday at my neighbor's house looking at the pipe going, this thing must be clogged up. The water's not going anywhere. Well, it's not going anywhere because Andal Street pipe, the whole thing's a dam and it's too high. The other thing is, I don't want you guys to screw over my neighbors, if you will, in Columbus and not let the water go anywhere, but you can't, you should not only when the pipes were lowered, not only do the pipes downstream need to be lowered, they also need to be increased in size. Because if you have a drainage basin and the pipe was here and it's got to take that much water before it starts flowing to my place, and you move it to the bottom, on all these storm surges, the water comes right to me. So then it backs up at the sod farms, and then it backs up on me. But now if they haul in all this dirt for the hundreds of homes they want to put in there, that's going to slam me even further. So I brought in some limited amount of sand to keep where my horses are, and they've always historically been kept. And I've had to haul in 20 loads of sand in my arena because my arena was getting wet. Now, what I call my hay barn, that was built on my property for another 50 horses, and that's what I took the clay out of the BMX track and put it in my hay barn because it's getting undermined as well. And eventually what's going to happen is they're going to tell me some rare turtle or bird or something for a wetland that's not even supposed to be on my property is now on my property. So I'm going through this thing. I'm waiting for 10/22/32, but I got serious concerns about the development at the sod farms. I've got serious concerns about how the pipe was lowered. I got serious concerns about in front of Catherine Decker's house when they dredged that whole thing out. They lowered the ditch 13 feet. It's right up against the snowmobile path, and they've undermined all the power poles. They're all leaning towards the street. And then they ran fiber optic in there, and that's a disaster too. So,
If I may.
any questions you're gonna ask me, that's fine.
Was that last one, that was the city that did that one, wasn't it?
Well, the city,
I'm just saying, just,
officially, well, you
Fiber
guys
optic.
work hand in hand, so I get the runaround. The city of Columbus lowered the ditch, but the city of Rice Creek lowered the pipe. And once it was halfway across the street, you were in the city of Lino Lakes, they should have been notified. I should have been notified immediately. Because that ditch runs right through the back of my property. I was not notified. So Houston, we got a problem. It's going to cost a lot of money to fix it. And if that development goes in, you got to look at Pine Street too. Now the ditch is so deep because you're sending the water uphill to my place. Historically, it didn't do that. It used to go down by the Lino Lakes Elementary School. Now that's all developed. So you either got to put a lift station in, which is going to cost a ridiculous amount of money, or you got to lower the stuff downstream and increase the size. The other thing is I have 3 man-made ponds on my property. So that Weir Pond, that's for the 121 car parking out there. And then I've also got a hill that they hauled in for the sand because the neighbors complained about the parents cheering for their kids on pedal bikes. So if I move any of that stuff around, then, oh, he's destroying the wetlands. I was a Boy Scout. I was a Cub Scout before that. Before that, I was a Tiger Cub. I love wildlife. I like big animals, small. I got them all on my property. But for me to go out in that back pasture and run my brush hog into a horse-drawn discer that's been buried out there, and now and the water that goes downhill, the sod, they put this, it's a mess. It's gonna cost a lot of money, but Jordell Street, when they put that in, that dammed up the water for other people. So I understand you guys are trying to get the water out of there, but you got to start downstream, not upstream, because otherwise we run into some big problems. So I don't know. I had guys. You guys were out there literally yesterday looking at my neighbor's pipes and stuff. The water has nowhere to go, and when you scoop the ditch, for the years, you just throw it all on one side. So we get spring flooding in my back pasture, and it couldn't get back to the ditch. So I knocked through that, and then I'm in violation. Then I wait for years. You guys bring the DNR with. They want nothing to do with it, by the way, now. They haven't talked to them. I mean, they wash their hands of it, and I'm just like sitting there going, well, what can I do on my property? Do I own my ponds? If I don't own my ponds, why am I paying taxes on them? Do I own my ditch? And then the city implements a stormwater utility. So now, instead of just raising taxes, they implement a stormwater utility. I thought I was paying you guys for my stormwater. Aren't I getting double taxed?
so Chris, I think we're starting to go way beyond anything we have to do with.
Well, you guys are in charge of
it's
10/22/32.
Chris, yes, we are, and we're fighting the DNR, and we're having a meeting this coming
All
meeting,
right.
whether or not what they want us to do is something we can even afford. You're right, it's a mess. One of the things I will ask Houston to do is to bring us a report on whether or not we properly have the proper, listen, let me finish.
Yeah.
Whether we have the proper downstream fixtures, and whether or not we even have authority to change those beyond what we've got now. we'll look at that, but you're right, it's a mess, and yes, we too are concerned about further development out there. Unfortunately, we are not the land use people. We have no authority over land use.
I understand that, and I just want you guys to know that the back parcel, when I bought my property and the city wanted to tell me all my buildings were illegal and jump through all these hoops and this hoop and that hoop, I've got drawings from the 80s for the Rabines condominium project that was supposed to go in on my property. And that's why I found out that my parcels were divided up. And the city wanted to tell me I needed to combine them, even though that's not their authority. It's the Anoka County Tax Assessor's Office. So the more I go in on this thing, the more money I spend, the more time it takes. But I'm not really confident on the engineer that you currently have working when I look at the first speaker that was here today and the disaster of a project, and why should he have to spend time on his
All
day?
right, so we have
Doing that.
our process allows 3 minutes. You're way
Perfect.
over that.
Well,
Thank you
it's
for,
like-
thank you for coming.
I'll be
I'm seriously
back to
about
the-
that, yeah.
Mr.
So the
President.
next one's February, or next month.
So,
I'll
thank
be
you.
there. Thank you.
Great.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I just want to have some clarity to understand here. This is kind of like a Y situation, and I mean Y in the letter Y.
Yeah.
So that when we talk about Pine Street where we lowered the culvert on that side, this is west of Jordale. And where he is, he's east of it. He's right on, I've forgotten what they call that street in Lino Lakes. Is it 4th Avenue or something like that? Yeah,
Fourth.
yeah.
But they both affect.
I understand, Chris. I'm just trying to make some clarity here. And so we really haven't taken a look at that part of the ditch problem that comes through there. And yes, the city of Columbus, as you're correct, Mr. President, just dug a tremendous thing on the north side of Pine Street. On the east side of 4th Avenue, which affects Chris here. And the other thing that's important is that we do need to change the culvert side that's down there on the south of County Road 4 or Main Street, where we had the pumps in. That's definitely a blockage and how to work at this. And yes, I agree with you. This is a mess, and it's going to take a really a review of how to handle it, the whole thing, because we have 2 different areas that are involved here in not only Lino Lakes, but in Columbus in that area. I just wanted to make that clear, Chris, as to where you're located as compared to sometimes when we talk back and forth, we get lost as to
Well, I have a
where.
man-made pond
Yeah,
on 4th
yeah,
Avenue.
yeah, yeah.
And there's 2 drainage pipes that run into that.
Yep.
And the one on the corner is at least a 12-inch. They just redid the culvert on the neighbor's driveway, and I think it's an 8-inch pipe. So when we get a storm surge, my pond floods, and that runs across my pasture to the back, the 10, 22, 30, the whole thing's a mess.
Yep.
And I'm just trying to survive over there, and I don't, you guys, between the DNR and you guys and the city, who's in charge here?
Unfortunately, 3.
That's not how government's supposed to work, though. I'm supposed to answer to one person that's in charge of it.
It's
So,
unfortunately,
Welcome to the real
unfortunately,
world.
that's not the case. But I am asking our engineer to bring us a review of the culverts downstream, and we'll go from there.
I thought we were doing that a year ago.
No, no, it's 10, we're still fighting the DNR on that one. We haven't got authority yet to do that.
Okay, all right, well, thank you. And I'm just coming down here.
We're as frustrated as you
You
are.
guys are all over the neighborhood all the time, and I get what you're trying to do, but then I go up to the Menards in Forest Lake, and it's like, well, that's wetlands, and they're just filling everything, so fill it all on Lexington, fill it all up there, fill, and then I'm just trying to run my farm, and it's like, holy cow, this is
We hear,
ridiculous.
we know.
We've heard before, Mr. President, from some of the sod farmers that they had the very same concern that Chris has.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, so it needs a very thorough and a look at a new approach considering what's going on there in the city's land developments.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, does that bring us to Houston Engineering Task Order? Patrick? Is that what we're up to?
Yes, I have some comments on that. Do you want them after or
Why
now
why don't
or
we get it,
before the vote?
let them tell us what the item is, and then I'll have
Okay,
a comment.
thank you.
Sure. President Bradley, Board of Managers. So this is the district-wide modeling program annual update, associated task order. This is information that is updated regularly in our hydraulic and hydrology models, water quality models. So pretty typical work. And we're looking to, get the best information for all of our programs. Once again, do that assessment. So this is update of many of our models through Houston Engineering. And something also to point out is how this interacts with flood elevations and FEMA and efforts that we've done previously with the city of Centerville for letters of map revision. And then one we're working on currently as well for the area around Hanson Park with RCD2 in the city of New Brighton. So there is a task order for this, the work and all the deliverables included in there, and happy to answer any questions, as I'm sure Chris is as well.
Steve?
On this here, it says that they're going to update the modeling, and I have grave concerns about 10/22/32 because I do not think that the elevations we have now are accurate, and I don't think they should be going into the modeling until we figure it out. And so I will be voting against it unless, Chris, I don't know if you can tell me exactly what's going in it. I'd like to see what's going in the modeling before I vote on it. I think I completely dispute the as constructed on branch 15 and the other issues we're talking about here, but I don't want to vote on this and put it in our modeling until I know what it is.
Mr. President, Manager Wegman, the information we're putting in here is existing conditions. So it's
That's
not the
what I'm
as
saying.
constructed condition. It's not the ASIC elevation, but it's what we actually have surveyed out in the field as the current ground elevation and the current culvert elevations. That survey information is what's put into the model. It's not meant to represent the as constructed condition or anything of that sort.
But there's been, on that branch, there's been several surveys. I mean, one of them shows, one of them where we did soil borings, the ditch went uphill and downhill, which can't be correct. I mean, nobody would do that. And I don't know which modeling you're putting in there. We've had there's been so much stuff done on this that I'd like to see what's going in there first. We've got 3-4 different sets of modelings on this whole thing. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I'd like to get a look at it before I vote on it.
Yeah, so I'm not clear exactly what I could be showing you to see what it is. I mean, basically, we're having survey information that our survey crews have shot and information that we've getting from the statewide LiDAR that shows the contours that are out there. That is what goes into the model. But we aren't putting any proposed items into the model. We aren't putting any historic items into the model. There is no soil boring information that's being put into the model. It's just meant to represent existing
So you're
conditions.
just putting in LiDAR data.
And our survey data, new survey data that we've collected over the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm concerned about, is your survey data.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, maybe a solution. If you look on page 36 of the packet, it outlines, I don't know,
read that.
8, 10 different areas in which they are suggesting incorporating updates to the models. Can we just amend this to not include 10/22/32 and include all of the other things? And the reason I say that, no, I do not have the historical day-to-day experience that you all do with 10/22/32. But 10/22/32 seems to be a swear word here. And I feel like there is so much there's just so much about this ditch. To help you have a comfort level, can we just pull that off of what's identified in the modeling and move forward with the other things? Because there
That would be
isn't
good.
a shaky sort of, confidence or, the engineer's ability to identify those things. I do think that there are, and there will continue to be, a lot of questions about 102232. So can we just pull that off of this? Can I make a motion amending?
That'd be a
Let's
wonderful
ask Chris
idea.
that
Well, I
question.
mean, I can do whatever I
Well,
want to,
Yeah, obviously you
so,
can do what you, I was just gonna get an answer to your question, whether it's physically possible.
Well,
to-
it would be physically possible for us to do that. The question is, do you, as a philosophy, does the board want to use the best and most current data it has available to manage flood elevations for permitting and that sort of thing? And the question that I would be concerned about is, let's say that we have somebody that applies for a permit up there. We aren't maintaining the model elevations of current with what our other actions are, including the actions that we've been doing to further maintenance efforts on the drainage system. We would probably then end up with an inconsistency between what we're using for model information in our maintenance efforts versus what we're doing from a regulatory standpoint.
So if I may try, Steve, he's not looking at what we want to do. He's looking at what is the physical condition today.
I get that, but we
So we-
changed the physical
But
condition
all he's
today.
doing it, yeah, but don't you want to know what the physical condition is today before you authorize a new development?
Yes, but I want the conditions that are there today changed.
I
And if it
understand.
gets into the modeling,
No, this has no impact on it. What has an impact on whether things change is our meeting coming up, our next workshop addressing what the DNR wants us to pay in order to do that, whether or not we can do that. That's what's going to affect whether or not we can get authorization to do that. And again, I've told you before, if we can't do what we want to do, which is the ASIC, doing 4 inches isn't going to be possible either. So let's take this a step at a time. Right now, all he wants to do is get our model up to date to reflect the height of the water. It's on the land right now, not what it should be or could be. Go ahead.
again, I feel 102232 is in its own stinking category, and I don't think in the time I've been here, we've never had like a unanimous consensus on how to move forward on anything regarding Drell, Pine, or this ditch in its entirety. So all I'm saying, so we can move forward with our meeting, I would be happy to propose a motion that we approve the district-wide modeling program annual updates with the exception listed on page 36, item 8, removing 102232 temporarily. Now, listen, if you don't like it, that's okay. You don't have to vote for it, but I'm just trying to keep peace here because if we open the door to have this conversation in meetings like this, when it's not an actual item on the agenda, our meetings are not productive. And I want to have productive conversations to find solutions to, ongoing issues that are happening along this ditch. So that's my proposal, my motion. Steve has seconded that. So I guess that leads us to discussion if there is any, or vote on it. Like I said, you don't have to like it, that's okay.
Discussion?
President Bradley, Board of Managers, echoing similar comments made by Chris, recognizing the existing condition as it is and how that affects any project that comes through, any permit that comes through. I would recognize that it's a living model. Certainly, we're looking at updates frequently. This scope of work is intended to be completed, I believe it says, by the end of the year. And when those updates are complete, it's not like, it's a set done thing. If we're doing additional work, if we have additional survey information, we can update that model. So I guess that would be my comment on it. Certainly we can recognize the comments on 102232, but work that we've done with the culvert on Branch 4 on Pine Street, we'd want to recognize that is the condition as it is right now. If additional work came through and, we'd want to know what the floodplain elevation is upstream and such.
Mr. President. I think if we got till the end of the year, that does not mean we're not going to do that. It just means it's not going in there now. I'd like to have an understanding from before. I don't understand it good enough to vote on it.
So, Mr. President, first of all, Lionel Lakes has a moratorium on any building, so there won't be any permits, okay?
Pretty
And
much.
That's for a year. And that's where we're really the area we're talking about is that northwest corner of Lionel Lakes. And second, I don't see any reason why we couldn't wait for a while and to put this modeling back in, maybe till we do a little bit more discussion on it and take a look at it. It won't change the dollar value that's on here. The motion hasn't changed the dollar value, so they've included the dollars there to put this into effect. But once members want more discussion on it and some look at it, and I agree that 102232 has never been anything on there that works out well. The landowners are concerned, and one of the big things is just getting that culvert to where we had to have the pumper trucks just changed. I mean, that's a huge impact on it alone. So I don't have any problem with the proposed motion. I'd support it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes no.
No.
3-2. Okay, and my no is because I just don't agree with that this is changing anything. Taking it out, putting it in, the waters are going to be there.
Mr. President,
Till we take the water away.
in my opinion, it just delays a little bit that portion to be put
I
in.
I appreciate trying to find a peaceful solution.
Yeah.
That's all that we've done. But sometimes a vote should be recorded for the purpose of having the vote recorded. So what's next?
Check register.
Check register.
Yes.
We'll have a peaceful solution for this.
Yeah, you bet.
Jeez. What, for the motion I'm going to put forward?
No, yours would be peaceful.
Go ahead. Mercy.
Mr. Chair, members, I move that we approve the check register dated August 28th, 2024 in the amount of $230,049.47 and the August interim financial statement prepared by Redpath and Company.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. 5-0. Staff reports, I guess. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I am seeing that there are issues with the iron enhanced sand filter in Hanson Park, Oasis Park, and Bald Eagle.
Yep.
Maybe today is not the day to pursue this, but I would be very curious about, are they all the same problem? What's going on? Is it not lived up to what the iron enhanced filters were supposed to do? So I would ask this question.
Yeah, I know progress is being made. I've heard some concerns with, I don't know, the style of equipment that we're utilizing is maybe older and not to, I don't know, what something you would install today. But that's about, I guess, as far as I know. But I know Abel has been doing a ton of work to try to get these online.
I was at the Bald Eagle site yesterday, and first I would say is there's a great sign there. So that's
Signage is working.
signage is working, right. But just to see that this is a repeated problem in August, what's the cause of it? Are other watershed districts or communities that are putting these in having some of those same problems? It's worth another look at.
Chris?
Mr. President, Manager Wynett, so I have been having some discussions with Tom and Abel about these systems, the issues that we've been having. There have been a number of different things that are different for each system. In one case, we had a pipe that just cracked, and That was unique to that one, the one over in Roosevelt, Oasis Pond. The one that's in Hanson Park, we've had some issues now with some debris getting sucked into the system, and that is another thing that we're working through to try to determine if we can do something to prevent some of that loose, mucky material from coming in there. There have been a few issues that have come up with the electrical equipment that has, I guess, malfunctioned. And so they've been working with the contractor that provided, or I should say the supplier that provided those electrical components to get some of those fixed. These are all things that are all fixable. We're, continuing to get the systems to, I guess, work as much as they can work, and but they have been effective. It's just that, they're going to require a fair amount of maintenance, and we're working through, what are some of the things we can do to both, continue maintenance on these things and look to the future to make the systems more resilient too as we move forward.
Well, Mr. Chair, there are a whole list of items that I'd have questions about. But first I'd say is these all have electronic beepers that go to a staff person in the middle of the night if it's not working properly, and they're able to use their cell phones to change it. I can just imagine that if Abel has the cell phone, the way it sounds here, there's probably a lot of beeping going on with them. And then the second is that these end up being so we have the ditch, and then we have all of facilities. So these are our facilities, and long and short-term financial commitments to them, and how will this impact budgets going forward, et cetera, et cetera. So like I said earlier, I think this is worth a look at our meetings on Monday, either now or in the next couple months, to just get an overview of where we're at on these guys. Thank you.
One more thing to put on the list. This one is obviously not as time sensitive.
Not as time sensitive, no.
But at some point, come to us, maybe after the whole summer's over and it's winter and things are calm and peaceful, and you can bring back to us a discussion about where we are and what if anything we should be planning for, not putting more in or whatever.
Yeah, and definitely will take a little bit of time to have dialogue with the district staff about what's been working and what hasn't on the maintenance side of things. And just want to, make everybody aware, remind them that when we got into these, we knew that these were going to require a lot of maintenance and upkeep, and that they were more so than anything else that the district manages or had managed to date. So
I suspect that we thought that meant weeds,
yeah.
which we're paying for. So, okay.
So, Mr. President, one of the things I'd be interested in listening to, besides the high cost of maintenance, and I agree they don't work, and there's a problem with them, is that I'd like to hear what the metrics are for the water coming in for dissolved phosphorus and the water going out for dissolved phosphorus. I want to hear an effectiveness for this cost. And that's, to me, is a significant issue, and I hope that I look forward to discussing this, although it's not the priority. Yeah, I agree with that. Thank you.
Yeah, and to that point, certainly Matt Koshin has been doing monitoring out there and has been documenting the removal quantities we have been getting out of these systems. So, we could talk to Matt about getting a summary of what we've monitored to date and, the amounts that we've been able to remove.
So, Mr. President, just to make sure you're clear, I want to hear about both the granule that's captured and the dissolved. There's two different types of the dissolved phosphorus is very, very difficult to get out, and I want to hear if there's anything that, measurements that have, show us what we're doing there, if we're doing, and even if we're not doing it, I want to hear about it not working. So, thank you.
Is there any further discussion on staff reports? If not, September calendar is in our packet. I see Manager Robertson gets to go to the CAC meeting on September 4th if she's available.
Yeah, so a little hiccup in the schedule with the Labor Day holiday. Council meetings falling on Monday. Our council meetings get moved to Wednesday when there's that Monday holiday. So if there is someone that would be willing to, swap
Tell you
something
what,
through the
I happen to have,
remainder.
I happen to have the October.
Perfect.
So you and I will switch.
That's totally fine. Yes, appreciated. Thank you again.
If it's a problem, I can too. So,
Look at
That's good.
y'all.
Look at that. But like I
Helping
said, I have
hands.
October, so it'd be an easy switch.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Normally we have administrators' updates. Did our administrator tell you anything he wants updated?
No, I was not relayed any information to provide to the board for updates. I don't know, for myself, I'd just say, the rule is out on comment, and that'll be the public hearing at the next board meeting on September 11th.
Okay. John?
Mr. President, I just mentioned that I was out driving around in the Forest Lake area in Columbus the other day, and I went by Brown's Preserve. And there are two utility companies out there working. One, of course, was doing the fiber optics, and I've been informed that they read our signage that Tom Schmidt has put up for years and telephoned him before he chased them down for not having a permit. That's very good. I feel a little sorry for the contractor who's putting it in there, because he's not the one who has to get the permit, but he was clever enough to call for it, so he needs to be thanked for that. But there was another contractor out there right on the north end and working somewhere around Taylor's driveway, Carl Taylor's driveway. That's the main portion of the ditch, and I don't remember what they're doing or not doing, but they were doing something, and so I just put that out to ask the staff to take a check to see what they're digging, so they don't dig across the old portion of the ditch or the new portion that we have runs where we rerouted it. Other than that, I don't have anything to complain about this time.
RC?
So did I hear we were responsible for trucks that pumped water from one side of the road to the next? We as a watershed?
Yeah, that's how we relieved the flooding out there on that ditch that day, was to send a truck out there, so that, because we don't, as a watershed, have a large enough pipe to meet the size of the ditch in there. And so that's the way I understand it, and they moved it
They had
over.
a lot of water.
Mr. President, the concern was not about the size of the of the culvert. We're aware of a culvert, and it's again a private culvert on the edge of the sod field that has some deficiencies in that we believe that there are portions of that culvert that have either flexed or come down a bit, that maybe catching debris or something, reducing the efficiency. That's why district staff went out there to pump some water around it, because they could see that there was some difference in elevation between one side and the other, and they wanted to be able to get that down a little bit temporarily. So it's one of those things that is still on our on the district staff's list to go back through and see if there is a need to further consider that culvert as an obstruction. But given all the water that was coming through there, we simply couldn't look inside that culvert to see what was going on inside of it.
Where was installed by the sod farm?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Exactly where is the private one that you're talking about, the private culvert?
It is south of the sod fields, north of the air park, and north of that east-west road. I'm trying to remember the name of that road there.
Main Street,
So we
no,
must have a contract with the
County Road
pumper? Or do we have our own
14.
pumper?
No. I don't know who we got, but
So-
we had
We
to
have a
get
So-
contract
somebody.
with somebody.
But a little bit more clarity here. Isn't the ditch there, this private culvert, isn't it in the right of way of 102232?
Correct, it's
Correct.
on, it's
So-
a public
but
cross,
so-
or a private
so
crossing
we're
of the public
pumping-
ditch.
We're public, yeah, we're crossing the public right of way was blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they were pumping, was to relieve the flooding that be build up from one side to the other. And that needs to be either that culvert is an obstruction, really, is what, and that's the reason we had that out there. It's not that the staff was out there, the way it sounds when you say private culvert, it sounds like the staff was out there pumping on private properties, and they weren't. They were out pumping on the right of way of 102232.
Right.
So, yeah, it sounds like we need to determine whether or not there's obstruction, because there's a way to
There
fix
is.
that.
Yeah,
Well, Joy.
I have
Steve?
nothing.
No, the only thing I'll add is, again, I appreciate the willingness to swap schedules. So I went ahead and updated my calendar to take the October 2nd CAC meeting. So I will plan on attending that. So thank you for the flexibility.
No
Appreciate
problem.
it.
No problem. And virtually, I have nothing either, so a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Done. Thank you for coming. You just realized how